Hello guys, welcome back to Sim UK and welcome back to Fishing Barents Sea. Now I've had a number of you ask me to create a tutorial to explain exactly how you should be trawling using the Lunar bow and using the Pelagic Trawling technique. The Pelagic Trawling technique, in case you don't know, is the technically or considered to be the most environmentally friendly way of trawling. There are a lot of different trawling techniques and this one is the one which does least damage to the ocean floor. So this is my preferred trawling technique because of that reason, but I shall show you now how it's done. So if we click on Go Fishing and just get ourselves out of here. Now in case you're unaware of how the Lunar bow operates, you have the side thrusters here which are controlled using the Z and C key. C pushes you to the right and you can see that I'm edging my way out already. So if I just if I hit the X key, I'll completely shut that off, but if I do side thruster and a bit of back thruster, a bit of reverse, you'll see that we'll come out of the dock quite nicely into that given space over there. So whilst that's happening, I will talk you through some of the important aspects for the trawling technique. So I can leave the obviously this is the helm looking out the front, but we can come down the back here and jump on the Scanmar. So I've read the Scanmar manual that comes with the Scanmar system, and I'm just going to delete all of this because I'm going to show you the whole thing, because there are people who don't know how this works at all, so I want to try and cover everything as best I can. Now, not everything is available to you at the start. The only port which does any of this stuff is down here in Hammerfest. So Hammerfest is the port that you need to go to unlock and basically get all this stuff, but the techniques I'm going to show you today will get you up and running no matter what you have. Let's begin by going to the open sea, shall we? Let's do this in the quick way. So up here in the top left hand corner of the map, in case you don't know it, this is where open water operates from, anywhere within that circle. In fact, some spaces just outside of that circle, which is weird. But yeah, so you want to get up here to where open water is. We'll do that very quickly. Kajunk. So once you've reached this area and you come to the external view, make sure you press H to get your information up. There'll be an option here to go to open water. When you click on this, all hell will break loose. There you are. You are now technically in open water. Now, what I have to explain about open water is, unlike when you're on the map, and by the way, when you're in open water, you can't bring the map up. So in case you ever get lost, you have to click back here to return to port. Now, basically, when you're in open water, you can just constantly sail in any direction. You'll never hit anything. There'll never be anything you can hit at all. Although it seems like seamless, constant open water and there is nothing to hit, actually there is a limit. It's a big square. And when you reach the end, say you were tracking some fish underwater and you reach the end of the open fish square, it will all reset and you'll come back to the beginning and all those fish you were about to grab will disappear. So just to let you know that that does happen in case you ever get confused. Right, now there are two basic techniques. On the back here we have two doors. Here we have the crane, and the crane will pull the net up and the net will connect to a pipe which comes off here and it will pump all the fish into this. There is no gutting of fish, which I find a bit odd. But yeah, there's no gutting of fish. You literally catch, pop them in there, and that's it. Now you need a minimum of 4 crew members in order to set and haul the trawl. I have 5 in total. You really do not need more than this because they don't do anything. There is nothing for them to do. As soon as the nets, the doors and the nets are in the water, they can all go and rest. And the same thing when you haul it back in, they can all rest except for when you want to put it back out again. I do have one left over for cooking, just in case, but do you know what? It really doesn't matter. You can get away with 4 members of staff quite easily to do this, but you do need to have 4 crew members minimum, so just bear that in mind. Right, now there are 2 techniques. There is the drop and trawl, or there's the trawl and drop. And basically what this means is, in one instance, you stay stationary, you drop the doors off the back, and they just drop down to the depth. Pelagic trawling, by the way, in case you don't know, is between 50 metres and 150 metres. 150 metres is considered to be bottom trawling. Too many double entendres to even go into, but yeah, that's the basic area where you want to fish from. Now you can fish as low as 200 meters. That seems to be okay. Anything below that, I think you're pushing your luck. Now this game isn't really a simulator. I mean, as brilliant as it looks, I mean, it's like a mill pond out here now, so you can't really see it. But the buoyancy animation and the sea animation and the wave animation that they've put into this is absolutely fantastic. The modelling on the ships is getting better and better, but the simulation element, it just isn't there yet. You cannot sink a ship. You cannot destroy the net. Everything is automated, so you can't make any mistakes. It's a bit of a shame, and I'm hoping it's going to head in the direction of a simulator, but as it is at the moment, it's pretty much arcadey. So, without delaying the tutorial itself for too much longer, today we're going to do the trawl and the trawl and drop technique. So the other technique, the drop and trawl, is where you stay stationary pretty much. You drop the doors in and they drop down to the level that you want to fish, and then you start moving. Well, the technique we're going to use today, we're going to be moving right from the get-go. So you sat in your back seat here, facing the back of the ship, and this here is the button to drop the net into the water and also to pull the net out. This controls the starboard this controls the starboard door, this controls the port door. So this is the ScanMast system, and what you do here is you have a whole bunch of stuff that you can drag. So if I click on this, you can drag that over and you can drop it anywhere. If you want to move it, you grab the top and you drop it in over here. Now this whole system is a bit pernickety, fandangled. It's not great, it's not the best in the world, but it just about does what it needs to do. Now, there are some things that you don't have right from the start. Let's start with the spider. This alone is enough to help you fish effectively. So as long as you have the spider, you're pretty much set. In addition to that, the other thing that I find really useful is the HOC. So this is you can set this up any way you like, but this is just the way I'm using it at the moment, and I've changed it a number of times. No doubt I will again. But the HOC and the spider, for me, are the two primary things you need in order to fish. Now, some people like to have the ship navigation available. To be honest with you, other than knowing what speed you're doing, I find this completely useless. I'll explain why that is in a bit, but that's just my opinion. There's lots of other things. There's the flow head rope, which for some unknown reason I cannot drop in there. Can I drop it up there? This, I think, is actually really useful, but I haven't quite figured out how to use this yet, so I'm not going to cover that in this tutorial, purely because I'm not 100% sure what's going on with that or how it works. You don't need it in order to be successful. That's all I'm saying. Right, let's drop in these important things here. The depth indicators. Now, you've got two doors, as I mentioned. You've got the starboard door, which is the green one, and the port door, which is the red one. Now, I'll swap these over from what you see on the scanner. Where's that thing? Where is it? Sonar. There it is. So this is the sonar from the head rope, and the head rope is the rope which attaches the top of the trawl bag to the top of the trawl doors. That's where that sits. That's important. In a minute, I'll tell you all about that. Okay, so what have we got here? We got our depth monitors. You can see we've got our port door, which is on the left, and the starboard door, which is on the right. But what I do is I swap them round this way, so that the green is on the left and the red is on the right, and I'll explain why I do that in a minute, hopefully, if I don't forget. Now, there's some other important things. The catch code end is a really useful bit of information. This is there available from the start, but it will only show you 10%. You have to buy 20, 40, 60, 80, and when it gets up here into 80%, it turns red. I don't know if you should never fill it more than 80%, but it certainly, there is no codec for anything over 80%, so I don't know what the situation is there. I mean, in reality, perhaps if you fill it more than 80%, it will break, or it just won't operate properly. I don't know, but this game isn't a full simulation, so whatever the reason for that is, it's not currently in the game, so you don't need to worry about that too much. Distance. Now, this is another important aspect. This is the distance between the two doors, and I'll discuss all this in a bit more detail, but obviously the wider the two doors are apart changes the shape and the opening aspect of the trawl bag itself, so that is relevant. And also length. Now, unfortunately, we do have length for both doors, but because of the way this system is implemented, in my current setup at least, I can't fit them all in, unfortunately. Why I can't have this and this squeezed together up here in this square, I don't know. Or maybe three of these across here and a space up here. Whatever the reason is, this is locked into this, and I can't seem to get a better system set up than this. So let's drop the net and then I can start explaining stuff to you. So this will all be offline at the moment, other than the ship, which is currently active. First thing we need to do is call the crew. That's done by using this phone here or this phone here. And you literally drag and drop them into the set trawl space. And you'll see them, whoops, that was the binoculars. You'll see them coming out onto deck. Now, if my game looks a little bit darker than most people's, it's because at night time I like it to be dark. Unfortunately, in this game, that's a bit of a pain in the ass, because the lights in this game are an absolute joke. They don't work at all, but one day, hopefully they will, and I'll show you that when it's dark, if I remember. So, we hit this big button here, and that will set the trawl. So if I go outside, you can see that the doors are dropping off the back, down into the water, and we're stationary at the moment. We're on a mill pond, so you know, if the weather was a bit different, then this would all look very different indeed. Now, I'm going to start accelerating, because I said we'd do the drag and drop technique, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to get up to at least 3 knots, 2.5 minimum. To trawl, really, you want to be around 5-6 knots, but as the number of fish drop in, it becomes harder and harder to do that. So as more fish go into the net, it's harder to maintain that speed. But we're doing about 4 knots now, which is perhaps a bit high considering what we're just setting up. I'm going to drop that down a little bit. There's no fish in there at the moment. Right, and I'll talk you through. So this here is the sonar. The sonar sits on top of the trawl bag on the headline, and it's looking forward. So this here is actually the ship. If I were to turn it left or right, you would see the tip of the bow of the ship protruding out. As we get further and further away from the ship, because we're letting the lines out, this will become smaller and it's less easy to see, and you can see it's already shrinking. These icons here, these are shoals of fish. Now, you don't have to hit them bang on, although it looks like we're about to hit one really sweetly here, but you need to be of a depth of 50 meters or more before that can happen. So we're aiming between 50 and 200 meters, and over here on the HOC, this is so important, this is the volume of fish that are coming in already. It goes up to 10. I've never hit higher than 9, but basically at 10 it means every fish shaped hole in your net, in the mouth of your net, is filling up with fish, so you're pulling in fish as quick as you possibly can. Now, we haven't even hit this yet. They're still like 200 meters away from us, or 72 meters away from us, but already just with that small amount of fish we've hit maybe 8% full on the net. So our depth here is 80 and 80, and the reason why I swapped these round, so green is on the left and red is on the right is because despite the fact that this is the port door and that's the starboard door, if I need to control this door, then actually I need to be using the left-hand control. So that's this one here. So the left is starboard, the right is port. So I swap these over so that I don't get confused, because if I try and grab the right controller to manage this, obviously it's not going to work. There's a lot to talk about, but really it's very, very simple. So these are the shoals of fish. Ideally you want to aim yourself towards these, but you don't have to hit them bang on in order to fill them up. Now if you do hit one bang on, and I mean bang on, we've got details here. So this shoal of fish is the nearest one to us. It's 19.2 degrees below the camera, and it's 16 degrees, 0.9, and increasing to our starboard side. So we would need to turn the boat in order to reach that. But if you do that, it changes the shape of the net. And you can see here that our distance is too big at the moment. It's 207. So we're doing 2.5 knots. I'm just going to accelerate. That should pull this back in. Now there's a lot to talk about. So on the sonar you're aiming for these, but you don't have to steer towards them. The closer you are to them, the better it is. And you just drop the net, pull it back in, drop the net, pull it back in. Now this is the spider, going too fast. 7.3 knots. You don't want to go above 6. 5 is ideal. So this is the spider. You've got your trawl speed, which is this dot. You've got your distance between the two doors, which is this dot, which is currently perfect. Excuse me. You've got two doors. So you've got the starboard door, sorry, the port door and the starboard door. They want to be all on these inner hexagons. That is your perfect shape net there. But you see already, I mean, I haven't even gone through a decent bit of fish yet, but already we've got 12% in the net, and we're not even at 150 meters yet. So once we hit 150 meters, I'll lock off the extension. This is the extension here. So this is the rope coming out the back of the boat, and as this extends, these will drop, and once these hit 150, I'll lock these off. Or 200, you can go to 200. You see we've got a nice amount of fish coming in. We haven't even hit this yet. We're up to 5, 20%, nearly 30%. If we hit this bang on, which it looks like we will, this whole thing will go red. This should go up to about 7 or 9, and this should just creep up very, very quickly. But here is basically, this is the key here, is this spider system here. Once you've got this, it's very easy. The only one that doesn't really matter is the symmetry. Now the symmetry means that you've got the perfect opening size, you've got the perfect length, the width, the lines, everything is absolutely perfect. It doesn't matter so much if that's perfect. If that's perfect, wicked, you're going to get a lovely hit. This could be a good one. This could be a really good one if it comes straight at us, which it looks like it might do. We'll see, keep an eye on that. But basically, whilst we're letting the line out, so it's 360 meters now. Normally I try and keep this around 300, 250 to 300, but we haven't quite hit 150 meters here, so I'm just going to keep extending that out until we do hit 150 meters. Now we're ticking over at 4.3 knots, so that's going to affect all of this. I think that's going to go just over our heads, unfortunately. Yeah, we're just going to miss out on those. But still, we're nearly at 40%, and that's okay because I'm still explaining stuff. Now I'm going quite fast because we are going quite fast, but this spider over here, trawl speed, increase your speed, moves this up. So at the moment it's telling us we could be going a bit faster than 4.2. I did say sort of 5 knots is the sweet spot, 6 knots is too much, so anywhere between 5 and 6 is perfect. Unfortunately, you cannot control the ship whilst you're in this camera view. You do have to come out in order to do anything. That's steer or accelerate or slow down. I think that's a mistake in the game. That should be fixed, but you know, it does work. So we've just hit 150 meters. You can see that our depth doors here. This is the starboard door on the right. This one here relates to the port door on the left. You can keep dropping and keep extending the length down to about 200, but once you get to 200 you'll want to lock it off, or you're risking damaging the net or the boat or the equipment. In this game that doesn't actually happen because it's not simulated, but that's what would happen in real life. So that's the spider explained, that's the sonar explained. basically the only real use for this is knowing your speed, but also if you do want to head towards a shoal of fish, if there's a nice big fat shoal of fish here and you want to turn towards port, you can do that. 30.3 degrees to our starboard side there is a shoal of fish, so you might want to turn that number of degrees this way, entirely up to you. I find that by turning the boat too much, that would be way too much for me. If it was like 5 degrees, then yeah, sure, but if you turn too much, you'll find that it changes everything. It will drop the distance down. That's nearly too big. It'll drop the distance down, it'll bugger up the symmetry, it'll change your depths, everything will change. It'll be an absolute nightmare. So we're nearly at 200. I'm going to go all the way down to 200 because over here on the HOC, which is a fantastic bit of kit, this is the headline. Now the headline is the line that goes between the trawl doors and the trawl bag. Now this, I have no idea what difference this makes to anything, but it tells you the value. I don't know if it's good or bad or what. I know nothing about this. This, slightly more important, this is the opening of the net itself. You want to keep this above 100, and to do this you want to have your symmetry relatively good. Our symmetry is improving slowly. Once we lock these off, you should see that swings out here and we get a lovely hexagon shaped thing going on. But as long as that's over 100, it seems to work just fine. This is clearance from the bottom of the sonar itself, or from the headline to the ocean floor. Now in here there is another depth indicator, which is DP3, that's the head rope. They don't seem to tally exactly, so I'm not sure what's going on there, but anyway, you want to stay a good 50 to 100 meters off the ocean floor, because otherwise you're dragging your nets along the floor and you could damage it if that were simulated in the game. I've already told you about this. This is the flow of fish. It goes up to 10. Anywhere sort of 4 and above is decent, but even 2, you'll notice that this is increasing pretty quickly. Okay, so this is the distance between the two doors, 182 meters. Anything over 200 is too much. Anything below 100 is too little. And this is basically an indication of whether it's getting smaller. And when these two flip around, it means it's getting bigger and wider apart. Now there is another thing that you can buy in port that gives you some control over these doors, and apparently by using the arrow keys you can make them deeper or more shallow or wider apart. To be honest with you, I find it doesn't work at all. I've tried and I see no difference. There's a joystick here. This joystick indicates when you're steering the ship. Other than that, there is no indication of any control mechanism whatsoever, and I see no evidence of it actually doing anything either. So I'm not that impressed with that, to be quite honest with you. 300 foot clearance to the floor, that's pretty good. I think 501 is the maximum length that you can let out. We haven't hit 200 meters here, so I'm going to say, okay, I think we've hit our maximum distance. So we can just trawl along about 162, 171, and that's perfectly fine. You can see that our symmetry system is pretty darn good. If I slow the boat down, even just a small amount like that, this will drop down to about 3 knots. You'll see that because these aren't being pulled through the water, they'll start to drop a little bit, and that'll get us closer to the 200 meter mark that we're looking for. Might need to drop a bit more speed off for that to happen. We'll just wait for a second for that. There we go, 163, 160, that's gone up by 1. This goes 164 in a second. Yeah, so it's not happening that fast because we're still doing 3.4 knots, which is still basically pulling it through the water at quite a consistent speed. But in order to have this perfect symmetry, we do need to be going a little bit faster. Like I say, 5 knots is the best speed. Anything over 6 is too fast, as I said. Now there's a shore coming in here. It's 500 and whatever meters off our port side. I don't think we're going to hit that square on, which is a bit of a shame. In this tutorial I'd love to get this up to 9 and show you how that's working, but I think I'm going to miss out a little bit here. This isn't the best hit. Ideally what you do is you sail the ship looking at the sonar, get yourself lined up with a nice fat area of sonar fish schools in front of you, and then you drop the net and then you'd start trawling. That's the ideal way of doing it, but we might get lucky here. They're a bit low, sort of 8 degrees below us and getting lower, and I'm not going to drop these nets any lower than this. So I think we're probably going to miss out on this one, but that's okay. I'll keep trawling and show you when we get a nice fat one. But basically that is it. So this is the distance between the two doors, which is indicated here by this dot. This is the length of basically the head rope, except I don't think it is called the head rope, but the rope that goes from the trawler to the trawl doors itself. Maximum of 502 meters or 500 meters. I think I could probably push that out a little bit further. If I can... No, that's it. That's maximum. 502 is absolutely the maximum it'll go out. I've never gone 502 before, interestingly. I always stop at 500. So yeah, I've just found the maximum there. So this shoal of fish is going to come off to the side. So if I mean, that's the boat there. So you can see how far away. We're like half a mile away from the boat. I think we're going to miss that, but we might just grab a couple of fishy wishies on the side. This indicator here is another visual indicator of basically this information. This indicates how thick the shoal of fish is. We're not doing great, to be honest with you. We've been a bit unlucky with the shoals of fish here, but yeah, this is basically it. This is trawling. And the only thing that's not going right at the moment is I'm not hitting a nice big fat patch of fish. Now I could drop a bit lower. Let's do that, because everything seems to be going below us. So let's drop the speed right down. Now I don't want to go too slow, because the weight of all this will start pulling the ship further backwards. Now what will happen here, because I'm not pulling forwards anymore, the width of the two doors will increase. As you can see, we've just exceeded 200, which is where this is not good. This is now indicated as being too slow. These are now dropping at a faster rate, 160, 171. These you definitely don't want to go below 200 meters. 150 is really the maximum you want to be fishing for pelagic. But I see now that one's going to go above us. How irritating is that? Alright, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll start hauling in. We'll start pulling the nets in. For some reason that one's left. There we go. We'll start pulling the nets in. We'll go maximum speed. We'll tell all these guys they can have a rest for a bit whilst we're doing this. See, we've got this perfect shape going on right now. 175, 186. It's being hauled in. We've got just under 40%, which is terrible. I hit, quite honest with you, when I line this up properly, I'll hit 40% before I've even got the doors down. So as far as this tutorial not being very good, it is very good. It's absolutely accurate. The only problem is I'm not hitting shoals of fish right now, and that's because I didn't line that up before I came in. Let's see if we can hit this lot over here. So I'm going to come out, I'm going to steer slightly to port, not too much because it will start buggering up our spider over here. You can see already that's affecting the width of the doors, it's changing the symmetry, it's raising the height of the doors. This is how you read it. You can see visually here the doors are being pulled closer together. We're still at 100 meters, so we're okay. Anything sort of 100 to 200 is acceptable. I don't think we're going to hit this shoal of fish. I think they're too far off to the port, but we'll have a go. We'll have another swing round, see if we can't change our angle enough to hit these. I don't think we're going to get it. We're not going to be lucky here. And basically, I mean, you can look at this and kind of think in your mind's eye that that is what the trawl bag is doing. You look over here, you see that the opening is 140 meters in circumference, which is perfectly fine. That's huge amount, easily enough to pull in a whole bunch of fish. Now we're going to miss that. There's a whole bunch coming up here. We could probably hit one of those. How annoying! Do you know, I never get less than 40% when I drop it in. I've just been really unlucky here. I didn't look before I dropped the net in. Now the only issue is when you're hunting, say for example we were hunting this shoal here, and we get right up to it and we're just about to pull it in and make our killing hit. You can reach the edge of the open water square and it will reset everything and basically you're lost. So this indicator here indicates the closest shoal to us, which is 403 meters away, 29.7 degrees off to our starboard side and 4.4 degrees above us, above where this current headline is. So just to make that clear, you want it to be slightly below you, which will be minus degrees here. So yeah, 4.6 knots is what we're averaging. That is absolutely full speed whilst hauling the line in, the doors in. So this is getting shorter, these are getting more shallow. Probably the other thing I needed to mention to you was that these need to be at least 50 meters or more. You could be going right through the middle of a shoal of fish. In fact, let's just stop pulling these in for a second and make sure that these stay in the water. We might get lucky with one of these here and you can see this fill up really quick. But yeah, so if you're going right through the middle of a shoal of fish and you can see them, and this whole thing will go red when you've hit the sweet spot. It doesn't matter. You can see we're 5 knots now. It doesn't matter if this is above 50 meters, you won't catch a thing. This will go up to 9, but there will be no fish going into your net whatsoever. Now you don't have to hit these bang on, but you do have to be sort of within the vicinity of them. I think maybe we might be too high here. These look like they're coming in a bit low. But we'll keep heading towards them. We'll try and get at least one decent catch in this tutorial so you can see how it looks. 405 meters, they're 2.5 degrees below us. So I could let the nets out a bit. Let's let the nets out a bit further. So you can see the length is extending again. 305, these should be dropping ever so slightly. Again, they're off to our port side. I think we might bloody miss them again. But we're keeping our spider in a nice green element. We've just gone out of symmetry here. Partly that's because we're extending the line. There we go. Annoyingly, we've just hit the edge of the water. So we just hit the edge of open water, everything resets, and those fish that we were just hunting are now gone. So the nearest fish to us now, and this will happen to you every single time, the nearest fish to us now 954 meters away, 7.8 degrees below us, 4.4 degrees off to our starboard. So, but that is the way it's done. That is absolutely the way it's done. And to be honest with you, that is the worst trawl I've had in a long time. Normally when I drop the line in, just the process of dropping it down to 150 meters and pulling it back up is more than enough to hit 80%, and I don't have to change my steering or anything like that. I think I'll just stay on this trajectory because it looks pretty busy over there. Get these back down to 150 meters and see if I can't get at least one decent trawl in that I can show you before the end of this tutorial. But hopefully I've made it absolutely crystal clear, everything that you need to know and how it all looks and how you process it. If you do have any questions, let me know in the comment section below and I'll happily answer them and clear any questions up. So you can see, although we haven't hit them bang on, we've got a volume of 5 fish coming in. So we are pulling fish in, we are increasing our load, we're up to 6. 6 is good. 9 obviously is the highest I've ever had, but you can see I didn't quite hit those shoals, but the number of fish coming into the net has increased considerably. Now imagine exactly that situation where I managed to get a shoal of fish bang in between the doors, smack bang in the face of the net. This would shoot up to 9 and it would fill so quickly, but that hasn't happened here, unfortunately. So what I'll do instead is I'll show you how to pull the net back out. So you take your resting crew members and set them over here, get them all ready and prepared. Now, if I actually just come over here and look at this, if I try and click on that now, it won't work. The trawl net needs to be within 25 meters of the ship. Now, you can judge this by the length meter here. Something I need to point out, by the way, is that this length meter, I think I've already mentioned this, is just the starboard door. So if you're pulling in the nets like I am here, and you accidentally forget to pull them both in, you're only going to be able to see one of them, which means the other one will be dangling down behind. Now, it should be obvious to you that that's happening because the depth of one will reduce, whereas the other one will stay still. So just keep that in mind. We're nearly 80%, believe it or not. So that terrible haul has nearly given us a full net. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it in, show you how that's done. And then basically just use the techniques that I've shown and explained to you here, and you will make huge catches. Honestly, just one full net is worth about 2.5 million. Off the back of that, you can improve the engine, which will give you better control over the speed here. I've only got about half the engine upgrades that you can have. So yeah, but sorry, I got slightly distracted there. The length here needs to be below 25 meters. Now, when that says 25 meters, you still won't be able to pull it in. It needs to be more like 10 meters. But once you're at that level, you'll be able to pull it in. You can see our ship is now finally coming into visibility again. We're 120 meters out still, quite a long way to go. But yeah, that'll just take a little bit of time to reach us. And you can see that our speed is pretty low. We're basically doing 5 knots, which is more or less holding us still. You can see that we've just come past 50 meters depth on the nets, which means that we're no longer catching fish. Annoyingly, look at this. A shoal has appeared directly below the ship, right in between the doors. So if I were to let the doors back out again and steer slightly towards port, I think we could have taken that on, because that's looking really positive, that one. But anyway, as this is a tutorial, I'm not going to bother hunting that down. That's something I'd do if I were actually fishing for myself, but this is just an example to show you basically what's going on. 70 meters, so we're nearly back to the shore. That is a really hot one. By the way, I don't think I managed to show you in this particular tutorial, but when you hit it bang on in the middle, the whole thing goes red. This will shoot up to 9, and you know this goes zip. You pull in fish really quickly when you hit them bang on the nose. So yeah, I've done it so many times. I'm just annoyed I haven't got it in this tutorial. If I can find a bit of footage that shows how that looks, I'll chuck that in sort of roundabout now whilst I'm talking about it, so you can see how awesome that is. But you know, this is a bad haul. So for a bad haul, we're just under probably about 70%, which isn't great, but that's still like 1.7 million. And you'll see that because I've expanded the capacity of the ship, you see it just coming out of the water now. These are the doors coming up. So that one's ready. That one's ready. So we'll just come over here and click on this button. Unfortunately, it's all automated. I'd love it if stuff would break if you didn't slow down and do it all properly, but it's all automated. You can see that this big fat bulgy net here. Now, if you catch 10 fish and you've only got 10% full, this will look exactly the same. Again, that's a shame. Over time, I would hope that they fix that and make it a bit more realistic, but that's where we are at the moment, at least. So that's pumping fish. There we go. 108,000 kilograms of mackerel and 14,000 kilograms of pollock. And if we bring up the stats, you can see that that's a small fraction of the cargo. Now, if I fill that 100%, it will fill basically half of this. But yeah, that's it. That is job done. So you can put all these guys back to rest. There's no gutting to do. You click on return to port, click on M, and then just hot tail it down here, wherever you want to go, any port you like. I'm just coming down here to Hammerfest so I can show you the add-ons that are available for the Lunar bow. And let me know in the comments section if there's anything you don't understand. I'll happily clear it up. If you want me to do a tutorial on the Hermes, because it's a slightly different trawling technique there, then let me know about that too. I will quite happily put that together. But I don't want to waste your time or my own. So let's just go into port. Again, unfortunately, this game doesn't simulate docking, which is a real shame because I'd enjoy doing that, the challenge of doing it properly. And, you know, damaging your ship should be quite serious, but, you know, it's not. I can just go straight towards the dock at high speed or 6 knots, not really care about anything. Click the button, sell my fish. That's 1.8 million we made off that one. So 1.75 was my estimate. And then it would just pull it into dock. Anyway, that's a different thing altogether. So if we go to dock and we go to upgrades, you can see that I've got the maximum storage upgrade. So I can store up to 500,000 kilograms of fish. I've only got up to level 1 on the engine upgrade, so there's a lot more I could do here, but that's 3.6 million. I have got 26 million in the bank, but I'm going to use that to buy the Hermes. Upgrade your radar, obviously, as soon as you can. Fishing quotas, I don't get this. I don't think you can do this in real life. Pay more money and get more fish. If that isn't true in real life, I wish it wasn't in the game, but that's another matter altogether. Scanmoire door sensor and controls allows you to see the distance between the trawl doors and gives you a small amount of control over their movement. That's the distance between the doors that I showed you on the Scanmoire, but as for controlling the doors, I don't think that works at all. But there's, like I said, there's no tutorial showing you how to do that properly, so I could just be doing it wrong. The catch sensors, this is what I was telling you about, 40%, 60%, 80%, that's worth getting, just so you know what's going on. The Scanmoire Trawl Eye detects the rate of fish mass entering the net, measures the height of the trawl opening, the height from the headline to the foot rope, and the bottom contact or clearance. That's the HOC that I was telling you about, headline sensor, really useful. That's it, guys. That's the tutorial for the Lunar bow. That is how you trawl in pelagic trawling techniques. I hope that was useful for you. Let me know if you want to see more. Thanks for watching. Take care. Till next time. Goodbye. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video today. I really appreciate you coming along and taking the time to do that. I want to say a big thank you to each and every one of you who watched this video today. Special big thank you to our Patreons and supporters on Twitch. But everybody who comes and watches, you all count, you are all part of this. And I thank you so much. If you hit that like button, I will like you twice as much. Even more than that, perhaps. It is for you guys that I make these videos, so it matters to me a huge amount if you enjoy watching them, and if you don't, you need to tell me. So thanks for watching, take care of yourselves, until next time, goodbye for now.